things you want to see. Look at these chunky legs and his little feet. I love his feet. So I've been asked a lot about how I told my parents, and I will tell you that it was not easy because, as a lot of you know, my dad is a pastor, so super frowned upon for me to be pregnant out of wedlock, so we had that whole ordeal. But as far as telling my parents goes, I really didn't tell anybody until I was about 15 weeks pregnant, just because I wanted to rule out the whole miscarriage thing. As you guys know, I mean, there's always a possibility of that, and it's a lot less likely once you're in your first trimester, the 13th week or so. It's usually a good indicator that you won't be having a miscarriage. So I told them around 15 weeks, and what I did was I'm so scared to talk to my parents about it, so what I did was wrote a letter. Basically I said, you know, I pointed out all the good things in my life. I graduated from college with a 4-year degree. I got a full-time job as an assistant. Oh, boo! Got a full-time job as an assistant manager. I never get in trouble for, you know, anything. I really haven't been in trouble for drinking or for smoking like a lot of people that are my age, that are teenagers, normal teenage stuff. And I'm pointed out also that I'm 24 years old. Well, I was 23, but 23 years old, and you know, pretty much for the most part I just tried to point out all the good things about me, just so that by the end of the message I just what are you looking at? Tried to put the good stuff at the beginning of the letter. I said towards the middle, I was like, I know you guys are going to be disappointed when you read this next line, but all I ask is that you still love me, and you know, blah blah blah, stuff like that. So basically I just said outright, I'm pregnant. One sentence. Realize how hard it is for me to be telling you guys this, but I wanted them to be thankful and proud that I didn't even consider abortion. Abortion didn't even cross my mind. I wanted them to know like how hard it was for me to actually come out and say it to them, but I just hoped that they'd still love me and I still had their support and yada yada. And I said at the very end that I have a picture of the ultrasound attached to the back page if they wanted to see it, my first ultrasound. So what I did was I told my sister, she came over and we sat in my room and we were just kind of like, are you ready? And kind of a now or never thing. So I texted my dad, we were up in my room, I texted my dad and said, when you get a second, can you come upstairs? And I kid you not, I about died when I heard his footsteps coming up the stairs. Like, I have never been so scared. I was freaking out. I was like, oh my god, I don't want to tell him. I don't want to tell him. And my sister was like, we have to do it. We're going to do it. He's already coming up here. And then he stopped in my doorway. The goofy person he is, he was like, what? And he like, you know, kind of like smiled at us. And we were like, come here and sit on the bed. And so he was kind of iffy. He's like, what's going on? Like, you know, I think he knew something was up. So I gave him the letter, and at the beginning it said, please read this letter all the way through before saying anything. I want you to read it, blah blah blah. So he sat there, read it, but I knew once he got to the middle about the part where I said I'm pregnant, I saw his eyes go to it and he just looked up at me. All he did was just look at me, and I will never forget that look. It was a look of, you know, disappointment mixed with shock, mixed with, you know, I don't even like thinking about it. It gives me chills. I hated it. So he paused to look at me, kept on reading the rest of the letter, flipped over to look at the ultrasound, which I was like really glad that he did because I was afraid that he might not even want to look at it, but so he did. And you know, the first words out of his mouth were, you know, obviously I'm disappointed, but I still love you and I'm still going to support you. Blah blah blah, but we kind of made a mutual agreement that we weren't going to tell my mom, for a couple days because I think we were all a little bit scared of her. Once I had that off my chest and I told my dad, I literally felt 100 times better because my dad and I are really close and it was just killing me to have to keep that a secret. If you guys are wondering what that noise is, it's just Emmett's toy. I'm trying to play with him, keep him distracted. So once we did that, you know, we kind of kept quiet for a couple of days. My dad still treated me the exact same. But a few days later, you know, I finally decided it was really time to tell my mom. And being the little scaredy cat that I am, I took that same letter and I put it in front of her door when she was in the shower, slid it under the door, and left the house. I drove away. Not even 20 minutes later, my dad had called me basically like, Mom wants to know where you are. She's really, really mad. You were yelling in the background. And let's just say it was not nice. So basically, she might have called me a couple names to kick me out of the house. But I know that that is just her natural reaction. I know she loves me. She just was so disappointed and so surprised because they had no idea any of this was going on, which, yeah, things happen, you know. So I would definitely say it was harder with my mom than my dad. My mom didn't talk to me for probably 2 months, I want to say, maybe a month. My dad texted me after that whole my mom finding out thing and texted me and said, you know, I still love you. We'll get through this. Don't listen to her and stuff like that. So he was really, really just so supportive and so nice about it. Basically, that's how I told my parents. I wrote a letter and asked them to read the letter before saying anything. Well, my dad anyway. But I asked him to read the letter all the way through before he said anything, because I know if I tried to come out right and just say I'm pregnant, first of all, I wouldn't be able to say that, just come out right and say it. Second of all, I would start bawling my eyes out and not get anything that I wanted to say out. I would just be like, I'm pregnant, and it would just be really bad. But third, I feel like they would interrupt me and just be so pissed they wouldn't listen to anything else I was saying just because they were so shocked and so mad. So I wanted to make sure I avoided all of those things and just got what I wanted to say off my chest in a letter and let, you know, my dad read it anyways in front of me before he had any questions or wanted to say anything. But so yeah, a lot of you asked me to make this video, and I am wondering if it's because a lot of you are in the same boat as me. Maybe not, but maybe a lot of y'all are pregnant and want to tell your parents. But that is just something that you're going to have to do on your own. I will tell you now, it's the hardest thing I've ever done in my life. Hands down, hardest thing I'll ever have to do. I already know it. Like, I'm glad I never have to go through it again, but oh my god, I was on pins and needles for those few weeks, and my house was not a fun place to be for a while, but everything is awesome now. They could not love him more. They watch him for me all the time when I need to go to work. They're just the greatest grandparents. And I couldn't have asked for it to be any more perfect. Like, everything is great now. Definitely, if you guys are in the same situation, I would suggest kind of like know how your parents are, I guess. My parents, I know, they tend to just yell and talk over you. Well, my mom anyway. My dad just kind of listens, but I kind of had to decide what was the best option for me. And for me, that was writing a letter, although they did say they would prefer if I would have just told them. And yeah, I mean, picturing myself being a parent, I would have just preferred my kid to tell me outright. But, you know, I told them in a way that I was able to. So I wouldn't have been able to be like, hey, I'm pregnant. So there's that. There's no way I could have done that. So I guess you kind of just have to decide like how you and your parents communicate the best and how you think they're going to take it the best. But in the end, you need to tell them as soon as possible because they can help you. Financially or mentally, whatever it is, they are your parents and they're going to love you no matter what. I know it's going to be hard in the beginning. My mom called me names, kicked me out, didn't talk to me. Of course, my dad was there and, you know, said, we can't kick her out when she's pregnant, you know. Honesty is the best policy. So if you are pregnant right now and you need to talk to your parents, you know, just try to figure out the best way to bring the subject up and break the news to them. Try to do it when they're in a good mood if you can. But if any of you have any questions or you're going through the same thing, feel free to message me. I would love to talk about it. If you need help writing your letter, want to see my letter, if you just need advice because I've been through this situation, feel free to message me or comment below. I would love to talk to you about it because it's obviously a very hard thing to go through alone, and no one should have to go through it alone. So I would really love to talk to you about it if you are going through it. I hope this video was helpful. A lot of people asked me to talk about this. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I will see you in another video. Bye!